Part 123. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1221. Chapter 1221 Inappropriate Size. At this time, the two people also saw her. Pei Yangxian's face darkened, and she said with disgust, "Xia Yingluo, why are you here?" Today she is wearing a bright red hip-hugging dress, which outlines her plump and hot figure. She is condescending and full of momentum. In comparison, Xia Yingluo, who is wearing daily student clothes, looks much shabby. However, Xia Yingluo was full of momentum when she spoke. "Why, you can come, but I can't." She and Pei Yan had a feud over cheating on each other. Although she had long thought that it was not worth feeling sad for a scumbag, this did not mean that she would forgive the who had taken advantage of her. Seeing her attitude, Pei Yan felt even more uncomfortable. He couldn't help but sneered, "Oh, is this a place you can afford? How can someone like you, who relies on student scholarships in my training camp, survive? Spend money to go to boutiques? Don't pretend to be fat. I've seen a lot of people like you who can't afford it but want to come here to broaden their horizons." Xia Yingluo stretched out her two slender fingers to pick up her gold card, and waved it in front of Pei Yan's eyes. "Open your eyes to see clearly what this is. Do you really think you are the only rich person in the world? Sorry, you really don't rank high in my eyes. Which of her father, brother, uncle, or even brother Du Zheng is not richer than Pei Yan? I really don't know why Pei Yan, a young lady from a neighboring country, is so blind." Pei Yan didn't know what she was thinking. He only saw the gold card in her hand and was shocked. How could this have a gold card? Could it be that she really wasn't just here for a stroll, but was here to buy something? On second thought, I felt something was wrong. How could she have so much money? Pei Yan looked at her with a look of disdain. Some women just don't know how to behave. They think it's honorable to sell themselves for money and show off shamelessly. She remembered that at the engagement party last time, the one named Wei Lingnan, the man, was very protective of her. Wei Lingnan was so rich, so he probably kept her. "Hey! Who are you talking about?" Jin Ling-er, who was standing next to Xia Yingluo, was furious. Pei Yan recognized that this was the girl who flew crab legs to her in the restaurant last time. She sang with Xia Yingluo and was the same girl. The humiliation and anger at that time surged up, and she sarcastically said to Jin Ling-er, "Birds of a feather flock together. Are you so excited that you are just selling it? You didn't even get a good price. Look at the rags you're wearing." Jin Ling-er just came back from the set this morning. She was wearing a stain-resistant dark t-shirt and jeans. She looked like her entire body was worthless, which made Pei Yan scornful. Xia Yingluo's heart also boiled with anger. This Pei Yan didn't scold her, but also scolded her friends. "We can't compare to you, Miss Pei, in terms of your ability to seduce men," she sneered and said to Pei Yan, "Zhao Yuxuan, the second-hand item that I don't want, is used as a treasure by you. How about that? I still have that bed photo. Wait, do you want to take it out to remind you?" Pei Yan's expression changed and he became nervous. "How dare you?" One of her worst mistakes was to send out her bed photos to stimulate Xia Yingluo. She originally thought that this little girl had never seen much of the world and would definitely break down in tears. Who knew that she has a very strong psychological quality? Even though she didn't break down, she kept the bed photos and took them out from time to time to slap her in the face. What happened at the last engagement party caused her to lose all face, and even now she is being pointed at from behind. Xia Yingluo said, "What's wrong with it? Maybe I'll post it online for everyone to enjoy when I'm happy." "Haha, okay, okay." Jin Ling-er clapped her hands and laughed, singing along with her. "Yingluo, your idea is really great. Such interesting photos must be shared with everyone. I can't wait." Pei Yan's voice was tight. "If you really do this, I will let my team of lawyers sue you and put you in jail." Lawyer's team? Who is afraid of whom? Xia Yingluo doesn't care. There may be people in this world who can put her through jail, but they are definitely not just Pei Yan. I have a big backer, but it's just you. Plus, your mentally retarded brother is not enough, she said. Pei Yan wanted to say something else, but Gu Jingxiu, who had been silent from beginning to end, suddenly said, "Okay Yan Yan, don't get angry with them. You are a young lady of the Pei family, why bother touching stones with fine porcelain?" She said this tactfully, but the sarcasm was only more intense than that of Pei Yan. She overtly and covertly belittled the status of Xia Yingluo and the two, comparing them to stones and Pei Yan to exquisite porcelain. Gu Jingxiu felt jealous, even more jealous than Pei Yan, and had a sense of crisis. Pei Yan's fiancé was no longer involved with Xia Yingluo, but what about hers? She recalled the scene she had seen at the engagement party, where Wei Lingnan held the disheveled Xia Yingluo in his arms like a rare treasure. She had known that man for so many years and had been in love with him since she was a girl, but she had never seen him look at anyone like that, which gave Gu Jingxiu a deep sense of crisis. Hearing what she said, Pei Yan also reacted and said arrogantly, "Yes, Jingxiu, we are not like bitches. Don't affect the mood of shopping. Didn't you say you want to buy that new dress? Take a look. The goods haven't arrived." Gu Jingxiu smiled slightly, ignored Xia Yingluo and the two of them, and asked the store clerk, "It's the A230 in your new product brochure for the season. When I came to ask last week, it said it hadn't arrived yet. Where is it now?" The clerk, who had been watching the excitement for a long time, finally came to his senses and said, "That's the one." It turned out to be the one that Xia Yingluo and Jin Ling liked before. Gu Jingxiu said elegantly and courteously, "Please give it to me and let me try it." The clerk responded and reached out to pick up the dress on the display rack. Jin Linger was unhappy and snatched the dress. "Obviously we were the ones who took a fancy to it first." The clerk looked a little embarrassed and said nonchalantly, "You two haven't decided to buy yet." "But we haven't decided not to try it," Xia Yingluo smiled. She originally didn't care whether she bought this dress or not, but she didn't want to give in front of Gu Jingxiu and Pei Yan. "Miss Gu just said to try it, wear it. I didn't say I had to buy it. It's first come, first served, we should try it first." Gu Jingxiu glanced at them lightly. She was dignified and elegant, born with a sense of nobility, and there was a hint of reserve and majesty in her eyes. Xia Yingluo was still not doing well, but the clerk on the side couldn't stand it anymore, and said to Xia Yingluo with a sorry smile, "This lady, I'm afraid this dress will be too big for you and won't fit you. Why don't you try it again next week when the bulk arrives? The next update will be at 2200 hours, normal updates will resume a small burst of updates tomorrow, excluding the chapters that are updated normally at 12 o'clock, 2000 hours, and 2200 hours, there will be an update from time to time." End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1222. Chapter 1222, Domestic Flowers and Wildflowers. "Oh, it's too big," Xia Yingluo said. "Yes," the clerk nodded, intent on resolving the dispute, "Miss Gu is dressed just right." Xia Yingluo laughed softly, turned to Jin Linger and said, "It seems that being fat has its benefits. You can jump in line to buy clothes." She spoke sharply, and her beautiful eyes were shining, looking bright and beat. If Gu Jingxiu hadn't taken into consideration her status as Shiyuan, a famous family member, she would have really wanted to beat her up. "Where have you gained weight?" But she is taller, has balanced nutrition, and her weight is just right, only one size bigger than Xia Yingluo. On the other hand, Xia Yingluo looks a little slender and thin. The clerk originally meant well, but Xia Yingluo's words were harsh, and she was a little drunk for a while. Pei Yan also heard it. She was tall, one size bigger than Gu Jingxiu. At this time, she was about to explode. She said to Xia Yingluo bitterly, "Little bitch, don't give me any shame." Xia Yingluo smiled sweetly, "Why are you excited? I don't have your size." Jin Linger laughed so hard that she couldn't help but laugh. Pei Yan's face turned blue and white, and his voice was sharp, "Believe it or not, I asked you to get out of the Emperor's training camp." Xia Yingluo responded tit for tat, "Miss Pei is so majestic." "Haha, you, a side branch girl who can't even get the official heir status, when did you have the right to order the training camp to do things? Beware of attracting Chairman Pei's taboo and causing your brother to suffer." Being thrown into the cold palace, she also comes from an aristocratic family. Although she has been like a wild girl since she was a child, she was born in a high-ranking family. No matter how high she is, she will naturally have a bit of a wealthy family. She understands the affairs of wealthy people. Toru, the Emperor training camp is the foundation of the Emperor. It continuously supplies talents to the singing industry, film industry, and even all kinds of social media and models. Ordinary trainees are nothing more than ordinary trainees. Top students like her are protected unless the chairman or some powerful figure personally gave the order, otherwise to touch her would be an attempt to disturb the Emperor's foundation, and even the Pei Yan brothers and sisters would not be able to bear the consequences. Pei Yan reacted to her taunting, and his expression became even more exciting. Gu Jingxiu, on the other hand, took another look at Xia Yingluo. What this girl said was on point. Didn't she seem to have the knowledge that a small family member should have? Could it be that Wei Lingnan was really so kind to her that he taught her all the logic of a wealthy family? In Gu Jingxiu's mind, if Xia Yingluo understands anything, it was naturally taught by Wei Lingnan. Other than that, how can Xia Yingluo get in touch with wealthy families? As for how high the Wei family's family status is, Gu Jingxiu sighed in her heart. Over the years, she had been chasing Wei Lingnan hard, but she always felt that she still couldn't spy on the Wei family. In the eyes of ordinary people, Wei's Biopharmaceuticals is just a little-known small company, but Gu Jingxiu knows that the world's most prominent super consortiums and powerful countries have secret business dealings with Wei's. How powerful is Wei's power? How deep, no one knows. This was also the reason why she wanted to marry Wei Lingnan. The Gu family had been gradually declining in recent years. It would be great if she could get a strong ally. Of course, she did love him deeply. No matter what, she will not give up Wei Lingnan. Looking up, Gu Jingxiu said to Pei Yan, "Yan Yan, I told you not to get angry with these people. It's not like we haven't seen this kind of clothes before. Let's go, don't tear it so ugly." She had already thought about it. Gave the clothes to Xia Yingluo, and then went to Wei Lingnan to talk to him, letting him know how arrogant and domineering Xia Yingluo was and how he had bullied her. In wealthy families, there are many men who raise women outside their homes, but most wealthy men understand very well that domestic flowers are domestic flowers and wild flowers are wild flowers. In front of the eldest wife, the respect of the head wife must still be given. Gu Jingxiu felt that Wei Lingnan must have cared about her because he had not denied her identity as his fiancée for so many years. When Pei Yan heard what she said, he was stunned for a moment, and then smiled, "Yes, let's go. Xia Yingluo, you and your poor friends can slowly grab clothes here. Come on, I haven't worn anything good in my life. Your eyelids are so shallow." Jin Linger also wanted to explode. Who is short-sighted? You bitch. Xia Yingluo turned her eyes slightly and met Gu Jingxiu's gaze. The two exchanged an unfriendly look in mid-air, and the undercurrent was surging. After a moment, Xia Yingluo smiled and tugged on the golden bell. "Okay, bell, I'm angry because I can't buy anything to wear." "Why are you angry?" "Who said we were going to buy this dress and wear it, and it's not the right size? I think it's good to be a footwipe, half for you and half for me." "What's not satisfying about taking someone's clothes that they really want to wear and using them as a footwipe?" Just let some bad dog bark a few times. It won't hurt or itch. Of. Jin Linger felt that it was a relief to fight side by side with Xia Yingluo every time. She could think of such a destructive trick. The gorgeous clothes that she cherished so much were only worthy of being used as a foot wipe for her? Ha ha ha, let's see each other. She laughed again. Who is short-sighted? Pei Yan really wanted to rush up and slap her. Gu Jingxiu said, let's go. He turned around and walked out the door first. Several clerks in the store breathed a sigh of relief. Thank God, one of the people finally left. They were really afraid that two gangs of rich people would fight in the store, and they would not be offended. At the same time, he secretly admired the Lady Gu who just walked out for being so noble, dignified, and polite, and worthy of being from a famous family. Xia Yingluo pulled the golden bell and said, let's go too. Jin Linger was stunned. You don't want any clothes? The clerk told me that the clothes should be one size larger. Why did you buy them? You can't wear them, and I can't wear them either. You can't really use them as a foot wipe. I still feel uncomfortable. Xia Yingluo said, let's go, follow them. As soon as Jin Linger heard that she had to follow the two people, she knew that there would be excitement again, so she immediately put the clothes she had been fighting over for a long time behind and followed Xia Yingluo out of the store with great interest. A bunch of shop assistants were left looking at each other in shock, on the verge of tears. The new dress, which had just caused 4 women to get into a fight, was no longer interested in them in the blink of an eye. Wow, their achievements. Xia Yingluo followed Pei Yan and Gu Jingxiu easily. Within a few steps, Pei Yan noticed it and turned around to glare at her. Why are you following us? Who is following you? You. Pei Yan's temper has exploded exponentially since she met Xia Yingluo. These two little are obviously following them. Okay Yan, it was Gu Jingxiu who spoke again. This woman was always so calm, but she could think of better ways to deal with it than Pei Yan. There is a dessert shop on the top floor. Let's go up and have a seat. My friend Shahrazada's novel The Last Tomb Robber is on the shelves today. It's a tomb robbing novel for boys. Girls who like it can read it. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1223. Chapter 1223. The dessert shop opened by her family. Pei Yan understood what she meant at once. The top floor was a membership-only dessert shop. It was low-key and mysterious. He didn't know what the owner was thinking. He set very strict conditions for issuing membership cards. If you don't have a membership card, even if you have one, no amount of money will be allowed in. All the ladies in the city are proud to have the membership card of this store. Even Pei Yan has never gotten it. Gu Jingxiu is one of the few people who is qualified to enter the store. It is expected that the two bumpkins will not be able to get it. Haha, let's go. Pei Yan laughed proudly and asked the two girls to follow. When they arrived at the entrance of the dessert shop, they were stopped by someone, embarrassing themselves. That scene was really interesting to think about. Gu Jingxiu smiled and walked upstairs with Pei Yan. Jin Linger saw that they were smiling maliciously, and pulled Xia Yingluo's sleeve suspiciously. Yingluo, why do I think they are doing something bad? Xia Yingluo said, I'm here, so what are you afraid of? Just follow me. The two of them continued to follow. On the top floor, deep in the beautiful sky garden, there is a unique dessert shop. The thick sweet fragrance floats in the air, making people feel relaxed and happy, and even their mood becomes better. Two waiters in white uniforms and bow ties stood at the door. After verifying Gu Jingxiu's membership card, they politely invited her and her companion Pei Yan in. After the two of them entered the door, they did not go far. Instead, They stood inside the door and looked at Xia Yingluo and the others outside with a smile. Pei Yan provoked, "You have the ability to follow me." "Humph, just follow, what's the big deal?" Jin Linger started to walk in. But he was stopped by the waiter at the door. "I'm sorry, madam, please show your membership card." Only then did Jin Linger understand why Pei Yan and the others were smiling so proudly, but she was not afraid and said to the waiter, "We don't have a membership card, how should we apply for it?" "We will do it now. Isn't it just money?" With her Yingluo card in hand, she is now a rich person. Unexpectedly, the waiter said, "Sorry, this card is only open for new member applications for a limited time. The application channel has not been opened recently. You can leave your contact information and we will train you when new member applications are opened." "So troublesome." Jin Linger's face fell. Pei Yan at the door covered his lips and smiled, "Rich bumpkin." Gu Jingxiu also chuckled. Although she had a good temperament, she was not without a temper. The scene of Wei Lingnan hugging Xia Yingluo at the last engagement party lingered in her mind. She knew with her toes that Xia Yingluo, the money swiped on the card today, belongs to her fiancé. She wouldn't care about Xia Yingluo until she was ruined. Now she is making things difficult. Just a little thought. Jin Linger was angry and helpless, and turned her head to look at Xia Yingluo. Just left like this? She is not willing to give in. Xia Yingluo naturally understood what her friend was thinking, and she smiled like Gu Jingxiu and others, and said calmly to the waiter, "I understand the rules. But I remember there is another rule. If someone can treat the people in your store if you suggest improvements to desserts or come up with new dessert recipes, you can get a membership card." The two waiters looked at each other. It was true that there was a rule in the store. However, because they were too picky about the formula, no one had tried it in the past few years. No one in their branch had ever used the formula in exchange for a membership card. "Woolen cloth. There are such rules," one of the waiters said. Gu Jingxiu was shocked and confused. "What? Is there such a rule? Even she doesn't know, why does Xia Yingluo know?" Just when she was doubting, Xia Yingluo smiled lightly, "What a coincidence, I happen to have a good formula on my hand." Actually, as soon as she followed Gu Jingxiu to the top floor and looked up and saw this dessert shop, she was happy. Wasn't this owned by her dear mother? Her mother, Xiaoling, was addicted to sweets. She believed that sweets were the most beautiful food in the world and wanted to share them with others, so she selected several shops around the world to open dessert shops. The desserts here are of extremely high quality. They are all recipes specially developed by her father in order to love his wife. They are so delicious that she usually competes with her brothers for them when she is at home. Well, sometimes she even competes with the ones at home. A few little leopards robbed. As for mother, which one of them dares to die to steal the share that dad specially made for mom? Xia Yingluo thought about her family, feeling nostalgic, and her smile became softer. "I will give you an exclusive recipe among the siblings. The eldest brother Li Shaowai wants to inherit the family business, and the second brother Li Rui aspires to be a dandy. She is the only one whose cooking skills are truly inherited from her father, and she is especially good at making desserts." The waiter didn't know this and said to her politely, "Miss, you are welcome to exchange recipes, but we have very high requirements for recipes here. You have to be mentally prepared, you may not be able to surpass the chef that pass." After hearing this, Pei Yan sneered, "Hey, Xia Yingluo, what kind of shop do you think this is? Is it the fried mahua in your village? Who gave you the face to come here to sell your craft without knowing the heights and heights of the world? If you can figure out with the recipes of this dessert shop, do you know how many Michelin restaurants in the world will be competing to hire you, and you will be reduced to living off men? You don't care what I do for a living," Xia Yingluo said sarcastically. Jin Linger said to the waiter, "Let Yingluo try it." In fact, she was very worried. This store looked quite high-end at first glance. How could Yingluo, an ordinary girl, make super desserts? But no matter what, seeing how calm Xia Yingluo was, she decided to hold on for her friend. The two waiters looked at each other again, and one of them said to them, "Please come with me." Lead the two of them into the back kitchen. Pei Yan originally wanted to go over and watch the fun, but another waiter stopped her and said, "The back kitchen is an important place, please don't enter at will. You two ladies should go sit there for a while and eat some desserts." Pei Yan had no choice but to follow Gu Jingxiu in dismay. The two of them wanted to watch Xia Yingluo make a fool of herself when she was kicked out, so they deliberately chose a seat that could see the door. The music in the store was soft. After a while, their desserts were served, and the cream ice cream in the crystal tray was dotted with chocolate almonds and mango slices, colorful, just looking at it will make you want to eat. The two of them elegantly picked up the small silver spoon and enjoyed it in small bites. Pei Yan came here for the first time and took the first bite of ice cream. He was deeply shocked by the delicious food. "It's so delicious, Jingxiu. The desserts here are simply the highest level in the city, no, in the world." "Who says not?" Gu Jingxiu smiled and enjoyed her portion calmly. "Just wait and see, Xia Yingluo will definitely be kicked out." End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1224. Chapter 1224 Dreaming of Going to Avatar. As soon as he finished speaking, the kitchen door opened, and Xia Yingluo, Jin Linger and several staff members came out. Gu Jingxiu and Pei Yan both turned their heads, intending to watch Xia Yingluo's excitement with great interest. "Have you made a fool of yourself? You bumpkin," Pei Yan said to Xia Yingluo in a triumphant voice, "don't bring the same trick you used to sell mahua at the entrance of the village to embarrass yourself here. The fingers of any chef here are better than yours." Unexpectedly, the people following Xia Yingluo looked at Pei Yan awkwardly, with strange expressions on their faces. Pei Yan was slightly startled and had a bad feeling in his heart. I saw one of the people who looked like a chef and said to Xia Yingluo very kindly, "Ms. Xia, thank you again for giving us such a precious recipe. This recipe is completely comparable to the desserts in our store. If you insist on not accepting payment, in addition to the membership card, I will give you another privilege on behalf of the store. No matter which branch you go to in the world, you and your friends will enjoy lifetime free shopping." "Thank you very much." Xia Yingluo smiled sweetly. It was originally her own property, so it was no different to her. However, out of the corner of her eye, she saw the expressions on Pei Yan and Gu Jingxiu's faces as if they had seen a ghost, and she still felt very relieved. "Let's go find a seat." She pulled Jin Linger and sat down by the window not far from Gu Jingxiu and Gu Jingxiu. This is impossible." Pei Yan was the first to lose his composure and glared at Xia Yingluo. "How do you have such a high-end dessert recipe? Where did it come from?" Xia Yingluo smiled purely and innocently. "Do you believe me when I say that I was just thinking about it? It's not like some people, who spend all day doing nothing but going to casinos, posting photos and stealing other people's boyfriends." He he. Pei Yan gritted her teeth in anger, and Gu Jingxiu's cold fingers gently pressed on her hand, signaling her to calm down. Since those two people have already obtained membership cards, no matter how much they curse, it will be of no use and will only make the other party proud. However, she was really curious about how Xia Yingluo knew how to make world-class desserts. Such skills were not expected of a girl who came from a poor ravine. She asked Xia Yingluo, "Miss Xia, I don't see that you still have this skill. Where did you learn it?" Xia Yingluo said unceremoniously, "Why should I tell you?" With just one sentence, Gu Jingxiu was left speechless. Gu Jingxiu is a socialite, and the people she interacts with usually speak tactfully. Even a person as arrogant as Pei Yan would not choke uprightly in front of people, So she was really at a loss for what to do. Pei Yan sneered, uneducated. Xia Yingluo also sneered, I still have your bed photo in my hand. So Pei Yan didn't dare to say anything nonsense and glared at her angrily. Xia Yingluo didn't care. Being stared at a few times didn't hurt her. As for education and whatnot, haha, I'm sorry. Her family is different from other wealthy families. They are mixed in both darkness and light at the same time. It is as exciting as walking on a knife's edge. She is still like an ordinary socialite who cares about etiquette and demeanor every day. She would have died long ago. I don't know how many times, okay. Her parents told her that true education does not lie in how to speak, how to eat and drink tea, but in what you do and what your character is. In her opinion, her good friend Jin Linger is more educated than Pei Yan and Gu Jingxiu combined. Both parties disliked each other, and they stopped talking to each other. Not long after, Xia Yingluo's desserts arrived. They were served on a plate with a red crystal gradient. On top were soft cakes made of cream and chocolate, poured with an unknown sauce, and made into beautiful shapes. Just looking at it made her makes people feel full of happiness. It looks really good, Yingluo, is this your recipe? Jin Linger's eyes lit up. Yes, Xia Yingluo smiled, try it and see. She accidentally got the inspiration from a dance some time ago. She suffered from the simple dormitory of the training camp and did not have the conditions to make it. Now it is just right, try it. How about trying out the finished product? Jin Linger took a small spoon and scooped out a piece. The fluffy cream melted in her mouth, mixed with the rich layering of the cake, making her squint her eyes in enjoyment. It's so delicious, Yingluo, let's eat here often in the future. Xia Yingluo said, okay. She also took a bite and it was indeed very good. Not long after, the chef came over with 2 assistants and asked them how it tasted. Xia Yingluo said, it's very good. The layer changes are delicate and rich. It's smooth and thick without losing the sweetness. It's like walking in the Black Forest in winter, with the smell of larch, earth, and lake water. You have a good control over the heat. If the chocolate is thicker, it would be even better if it could be improved a little bit. The chef looked at her with respect. Ms. Xia is really an expert. We also felt the same after trying it. Xia Yingluo smiled lightly, but remember not to use anything too bitter. Her mother didn't like anything too bitter. The chef took note of it, thanked her again for the wonderful recipe, and gave them a specially prepared summer ice drink. Then he said that he would not disturb their good time and left. Gu Jingxiu at the next table saw this and frowned slightly. Even though she had been to the store many times, she had never enjoyed such high-level hospitality. She was in a bad mood to have the thorns in her eyes piercing her face. I didn't have much appetite, so I planned to invite Pei Yan to go with me. Suddenly, I heard Jin Linger over there asking, Yingluo, did you not return to the dormitory last night? I called the landline but no one answered. Xia Yingluo stayed away last night? The alarm bell rang in Gu Jingxiu's heart. As a young trainee, where could she go? Resisting the urge to get up and leave, she was unconsciously attracted to the conversation over there and listened attentively. Xia Yingluo dug into the cake with a small spoon. The rich sweet smell made her feel a little dazed. Thinking of what happened last night, she felt that she could hardly tell which of Wei Lingnan's words was true and which was false. I was at Shanglin Nanyuan last night, she told Jin Linger. Wei Lingnan mixed a drink for me. I suspect it has hallucinogenic effects. Hallucinogenic effect, Jin Linger was startled. How should I put it? Xia Yingluo was a little troubled, biting the small spoon gently with her beautiful lips. I had a dream, dreaming about a place I had never been to before, but I felt that it was very familiar there. Jin Linger asked, where? Xia Yingluo frowned slightly. It's not a real place, it's probably Avatar Star. She really didn't know how to explain Star Scatana to Jin Linger, and instinctively, she didn't seem to want to talk to anyone. Talking too much, that planet is like a secret existence, as long as it exists in her and Wei Lingnan's world. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1225. Chapter 1225 The Eccentric Wei Lingnan. Subconsciously, she didn't want to leave too many traces of that planet in this world. Even I don't understand why. Jin Linger looked at her in a fuss, stretched out her hand to touch her forehead, and said, Yingluo, are you okay? What about the Avatar star? Did you become the Avatar in a dream? Xia Yingluo smiled bitterly, so I think I have been hallucinated. Do you think Wei Lingnan is taking drugs? Sometimes I look like he is taking drugs, otherwise, why would he be talking so much nonsense? Jin Linger became nervous. It's really hard to tell when you say that. I heard that many rich people take drugs. Maybe he is really an addict? Cannabis, see. Luo Yin, and, there are all kinds of drugs. Oh my god, Yingluo, nothing will happen to you. You go to the hospital for a drug test? Xia Yingluo comforted her, it's not high. Luo Yin. Although her family is not involved in the drug business, she knows many families who are involved in drugs. Since childhood, her father Li Lei taught her and her two brothers how to identify various drugs to prevent them from being misled in the future. Xia Yingluo is sure that even if Wei Lingnan used hallucinogens on her, it was not a normal type. Otherwise she wouldn't be unaware. Is it really useful to go to the hospital for examination? She wasn't sure, but she nodded to Jin Linger, I'll go to the hospital this afternoon to check it out. Jin Linger said eagerly, what are you waiting for? Stop eating the cake, let's go right now. Speaking, he stood up. Xia Yingluo smiled helplessly and had to stand up with her. The two of them walked out of the dessert shop one after another, and neither of them noticed that Pei Yan and Gu Jingxiu at the next table had strange expressions on their faces. Xia Yingluo is taking drugs. After a brief shock, Pei Yan was the first to react and said to Gu Jingxiu, now we have a handle on her, Jingxiu, we will send people to follow her and check her drug test results. Go to the training camp and ask the training camp to expel her. Gu Jingxiu said nothing. She was thinking about another thing, Wei Lingnan taking drugs. She didn't believe it no matter what. Although she didn't dare to say that she knew this man 100%, she also knew how cool-headed and strong self-control this man had. How could such a person take drugs? But he controls such a cutting-edge biopharmaceutical company. Could it be that he has developed some new drugs? Experiment on yourself? She was restless and said to Pei Yan, I'm tired, let's just leave today. Pei Yan was a little disappointed, I originally wanted to ask you to go together to find out what happened to Xia Yingluo. Gu Jingxiu forced a smile, go ahead and tell me the results later. She also wanted to find out what was going on with Xia Yingluo, and most importantly, what was going on with Wei Lingnan. Why did Wei Lingnan give her hallucinogens? Gu Jingxiu picked up her limited edition lambskin bag and walked out of the dessert shop. A luxury car, the driver of the Gu family was waiting at the entrance of the shopping mall. Miss, where are you going? Gu Jingxiu asked after getting in the car. Go to Wei's company, Gu Jingxiu said. Over the years, Gu Jingxiu has gone to Weishi biopharmaceutical company to see Wei Lingnan almost every month. The driver was already familiar with the road and drove towards Weishi as soon as he stepped on the accelerator. The scenery regressed along the way, gradually changing from the bustling city center to the suburban industrial complex. We stopped in front of a half-old and inconspicuous building. A plaque was erected in front of the building with the words Weishi Biopharmaceuticals written on it. The driver didn't understand why his lady would fall in love with a second-class business leader who was far from being a distinguished person. Gu Jingxiu got out of the car gracefully and entered the building. The decoration inside the building looked better than the exterior, but it was still ordinary. She pressed the elevator and went all the way to the chairman's office on the top floor. The secretary at the door of the office recognized her and quickly connected her to Wei Lingnan's dedicated line. After a few minutes, the door opened. She walked in and saw Wei Lingnan sitting on the sofa in the office, waiting for her. The summer sky light poured in through the windows and fell on him, making his whole body look covered with a beautiful layer of light and shadow. He had a slender figure and his legs were folded casually, looking like some dangerous beasts. "You're here," he looked at Gu Jingxiu and said. Gu Jingxiu smiled. "When I was shopping in the mall, I found a tie clip that suits you very well, so I sent it to you." She glanced at the office from the corner of her eye and found that it was not much different from when she came last month. The purple clay teapot on the table didn't even change the angle of the spout. Sometimes she wonders, does Wei Lingnan usually not work here? Other than being kept spotless, there is no trace of human activity at all. And it seemed that Wei Lingnan didn't mind her discovering and doubting this. Wei Lingnan looked at her and said, "Tie clip? You bothered?" He was always so lukewarm towards her, as polite as if he were facing an outsider. Gu Jingxiu unexpectedly remembered the way he held Xia Yingluo in his arms that day. Wei Lingnan was different at that time. At that time, he had emotions. "I have a sour feeling in my heart, and a sense of crisis is like a maggot attached to the bone." She smiled reluctantly and took out the tie clip she had carefully selected for him in the morning. "See if it fits." "Whatever you bought is suitable," but he didn't try it, didn't even look at it, and just put it aside. Gu Jingxiu felt sour in her heart. This man had been so lukewarm to her for so many years, but who made her like him and need him? He ignored so many well-known suitors and always came to him with tenderness. In the past, when Xia Yingluo didn't show up, she always thought that he was born to be so cold and it was nothing serious. But now, Xia Yingluo appears. His attitude towards Xia Yingluo was completely different from that towards her. This realization made Gu Jingxiu tremble with fear. She hesitated for a moment and said to Wei Lingnan, "I met Xia Yingluo today." Wei Lingnan didn't speak, just looked at her. Gu Jingxiu was a little numb by his eyes. She secretly took a breath and mustered up the courage to say, "I liked a piece of clothing that was not her size," but she still snatched it away. She looked a little aggrieved. Wei Lingnan actually smiled. How big of a deal is it to argue with a little girl? Gu Jingxiu felt something stuck in her heart, unable to move up or down. On the way here, she had thought that Wei Lingnan might be partial, but she didn't expect that his heart would be like this. Who among the two is his fiancé? But she didn't dare to question him, or even show the slightest hint of displeasure. Because, she couldn't imagine what it would be like to lose him. She couldn't afford to lose. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1226. Chapter 1226 Planetary Wool. With some probing, she said to Wei Lingnan, "Xia Yingluo said that she had a dream last night, and she suspected that someone had given her hallucinogens." She knew very well who Xia Yingluo was with last night, and she said this deliberately. That is, he wanted to ruin Xia Yingluo's image in Wei Lingnan's heart and let Wei Lingnan know that Xia Yingluo didn't like him and was even suspicious of him. Wei Lingnan's expression changed slightly. Did she dream? Yes, Gu Jingxiu said carefully. He said he dreamed about the Avatar star and said he was going to the hospital for a drug test. Avatar star? Wei Lingnan frowned. How could that happen? In his plan, his little girl should be reminded a little bit of the past life, the planet Scatana. The desolate planet Scatana is completely different from the beautiful and exquisite fairyland of Avatar in human movies. What went wrong? What else did she say? He asked Gu Jingxiu. Gu Jingxiu said, "No, she should have gone to the hospital for a drug test by now. She seems to dislike others drugging her. She told her friends that that person was despicable, shameless, and disgusting. Wei Lingnan glanced at her, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Gu Jingxiu's heart skipped a beat and she stopped talking. You go back first, Wei Lingnan said to her, I have something to do in the evening, so let Xiao Zhang see you off. Xiao Zhang is his assistant. Gu Jingxiu bit her lip gently, feeling unwilling to do so. Lingnan, we haven't had dinner together for a long time. Go back. His voice did not rise or fall. She was frightened and did not dare to do anything again, so she left in frustration. Wei Lingnan was left alone in the huge office, thinking for a long time, then got up and went out. Xia Yingluo went to the hospital for a drug test and came back. All the indicators were normal and there was nothing wrong with her. But she always felt something was wrong. If it wasn't a hallucination, could everything last night be true? Did she really dream of that planet Scatna under his inducement, and still feel that place in her dream as if it were a real thing? She shouldn't be like him, going crazy. She returned to the training camp feeling restless and had no appetite for dinner at night. She went to a small forest on campus alone and sat under a big tree in a daze. The sky is getting dark, and the stars are lighting up little by little. Xia Yingluo looked up at the starry sky, and her eyes unknowingly stopped at the hole that was said to have been the star of Scatana. The mysterious void is like a whirlpool, sucking people in. She looked at it for a long time, and some memories from her dream came up. She saw the desolate and cracked land, and there was some light coming from the mysterious dark purple cracks. She was attracted by the light and wanted to look deeper, but she couldn't remember the scene in her dream. Her head ached, and she held her temples with her hands, trying to contain the uncomfortable feeling. Beside you, there is a breeze. The keen vigilance trained by her father and brother for a long time made her immediately turn her head and saw a person coming out of the dark woods. The starlight shone on him, reflecting the sparkling lake water, making him look shrouded in a layer of purple mystery. His slender body moved gracefully, like a ferocious beast emerging from the abyss. She was a little nervous. He walked up to her and looked down at her sitting under the tree. Xia Yingluo composed herself before asking, Wei Lingnan, why are you here? Wei Lingnan's voice seemed to come from a distant time and space. Did you dream last night? She was slightly startled. She didn't expect him to ask this question, and she was a little unhappy. I already told you it's none of your business. But you went to the hospital for a drug test, Wei Lingnan pointed out the fact ruthlessly. What did you dream about? Xia Yingluo frowned. It has nothing to do with you. She didn't like Wei Lingnan speaking to her in such an attitude, as if he wanted to pry into her life and break into the secret world of her heart. She stood up, turned around and walked out. Wei Lingnan grabbed her, and before she could react, he pressed her against the tree trunk behind him, lowered his head and kissed her. Xia Yingluo was caught off guard, and when she reacted, she felt his cool lips touching hers. She was so angry that she reached out and pushed him hard. She was very skilled among girls, but in front of him, she was as weak as a weak woman with no strength. His hands were twisted behind his back, and he did whatever he wanted without any effort, as if he wanted to tear her apart and devour her. Xia Yingluo struggled like crazy and bit him, and he bit him back more ferociously. The taste of blood filled their lips and teeth, and they couldn't tell who belonged to whom. I do not know how long it has been. He briefly let go of her, raised her chin, and said in a soft and dangerous voice, What on earth did you dream about? Get out, she glared at him. He sneered, and without further ado, he raised his hand and tore her thin summer shirt. Under the starlight, the delicate skin exuded a moving luster. She exclaimed again and instinctively covered her chest with her hands. He didn't care at all. He turned her body over and took possession of her from behind. She was so painful that she couldn't speak. She was imprisoned between his body and the tree trunk. Her eyesight turned black, as if all the stars in the sky were far away from her. Her mind went blank, only violent emotions swept through it, anger, fear, sadness, and helplessness. She felt his teeth biting her ears, saying in her ears, "Alugo, no matter what you dreamed about, I don't care at all. As long as your body remembers me, it will always remember me." Her hands were weakly digging at the rough tree trunk, and the pain made her almost die. Fragmented fragments flashed before her eyes in a trance, and she could no longer tell whether they were real or illusory: a purple and desolate planet, boundless fog, and two half-human and half-animal monsters rolling in the fog, as if they were killing each other, or as if they were killing each other. Mating in, one of them bit off a chunk of flesh from the other, and blood burst out and rained down. Xia Yingluo fainted. Wei Lingnan stopped moving and stood there, holding her unconscious in his arms. Her body was covered with bruises, both from him and from injuries caused by bumping against the old tree trunk. There were traces of his teeth on her lips, as well as tiny traces of blood, which were speckled and shocking. He raised his hand and gently touched her lips. "I'm sorry, Aluo," he murmured in a low voice, "I don't want to be so impatient, but we don't have much time left. This is the Earth, not their hometown. Each planet has its own planetary will, which is a huge ancient energy consciousness that defends the territory and prevents aliens in the universe from invading. He and Alugo are both invaders on the Earth, and they will be wiped out by the will of the planet if they are not careful. This is a small update to make up for yesterday's update. The 3 updates will be resumed tomorrow, still at 12 noon, 2000 hours and 2200 hours in the evening. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weiniang. Chapter 1227. Chapter 1227. The Last Material. He is very strong and is a warrior of the Skatana tribe, the highest race in the universe. Although he was attacked when he came to the Earth hundreds of years ago, when the will of the Earth discovered that he could drag the entire Earth to death and be buried with him if he made a desperate move, there is no choice but to compromise unwillingly. From then on, he became the subject of intense surveillance by the Xia family, the guardians of the planet, and the reclusive family. As long as he stayed peacefully on the Earth and did not do anything extraordinary, the Earth would tolerate him. But not anymore. He resurrected Alugo. It is Alugo who borrowed the body of the Nirvana Phoenix from the planet Guardian family and was resurrected. He is a male and Alugo is a female. Together they can reproduce and disrupt species on the Earth. Each planet has its own specific laws of species evolution. It is a perfect and exquisite system. Once invaded by alien species, unpredictable things will happen. Especially the powerful genes of the Skatana tribe will destroy the Earth. It is possible that the indigenous people will be exterminated. Earth will not allow them to do that. Alugo's body suffers from intermittent pain, which means she is attacked by the will of the planet. The will of the planet does not allow her to awaken the alien genes in her body, otherwise it will obliterate her. She is still very weak, only in her teens. Once the will of the planet takes action against her, she will be unable to resist. He must awaken her as quickly as possible to make her strong. He eagerly transferred the Skatana energy in his body to her. The lingering of the body is the best way to exchange energy. Wei Lingnan picked her up, and her figure disappeared into the darkness as if it were coming. Back at the Weishi biopharmaceutical building on the outskirts of the city, he walked in through the hidden side door. There was no one in the dimly lit corridor on the first floor. He carried her into an ordinary freight elevator and pressed a red button with a fingerprint lock. The elevator went down silently. After about 10 minutes, he didn't know how deep it went. Several hundred meters underground, the elevator finally stopped. This is the real Weishi biopharmaceutical base. The old building on the ground is just a cover-up. Wei's really important information is in this magnificent underground city. Outside the elevator exit is a large square with a silver-gray metal texture, hanging alone in the silent void. Looking up, it is an artificial sky that is so high that it seems that the top cannot be seen, and the starry sky is shining. Looking down, it is a dark abyss that is also so deep that the bottom cannot be seen. Dozens of metal passages extend radially from the edge of the square, some upward, some downward, like tentacles linked to countless other suspended passages, forming an intricate road network. Beside the passage, the translucent spherical operating platforms and laboratories are like shining stars in the dark night. If you look carefully, you will find that there are actually no stars in the artificial sky above your head. Those that make people mistake them for stars. In fact, they are all experimental spaces. Many researchers in white coats were busy inside, and occasionally teams of security personnel escorted various items past. Can't find any words to describe its magnificence. This is the real biopharmaceutical base of Wetishi. Wei Lingnan carried Xia Yingluo up a passage and said to the void, SSS Research Room 000 under his feet. The silver-gray metal conveyor belt ran automatically, bridging several other conveyance passages in the vast void. Soon they were sent to a hidden darkness. The magnificent starry sky was gradually obscured by black fog and turned into a distant background. Laboratory SSS-000 was located in the deepest part of the entire underground city, where the only star hung alone in the darkness. Dark purple, faintly flickering, like breathing. He carried her in. There was an old man in a white coat in the laboratory. I was not surprised to see him. Sir, you are back. The old man is an outstanding scientific researcher. He has been in this underground city since he was a boy and is passionate about the unknown. And obsession led him to devote his life to the Wei family. He is one of the few people who knows Wei Lingnan's secret. From the first time he met Wei Lingnan when he was a boy, to now he is over 70 years old, this man named Wei Lingnan doesn't even have a single hair. Aged. The old man knew very well that most likely, Wei Lingnan was not human at all. But so what? The unknown world is the most fascinating, and he doesn't care who or what he works for as long as it allows him to do research. Wei Lingnan gently placed Xia Yingluo on the metal bed in the center of the room, as if caring for a rare treasure. I brought her back, he said, and gave her a full physical exam. The old man said yes without asking who Xia Yingluo was. In fact, he knew very well what Wei Lingnan's experiments had been doing over the years. After all, he was one of the top core participants. Now, the girl in the resurrection plan appears. He skillfully manipulated a virtual light screen suspended in mid-air and issued a series of instructions. Soon, a huge glass cover descended from the ceiling, covering Xia Yingluo and the entire metal bed. Then, fluorescent blue liquid was injected into it, gradually surrounding and submerging Xia Yingluo. In the tranquil water ripples, she was disheveled and her eyes were lightly closed. She was as beautiful as a sleeping princess. Wei Lingnan stood outside the glass cover and looked at her quietly. The virtual light screen in front of the old man flickered for a while, and the data report was analyzed. The physical signs report of test subject S98573 is as follows: heart rate, normal, brain waves, normal, genetic makeup, normal, all values are within the normal human range, and no findings were found. Mutation. Analysis of future mutation probability, 0.3174%. After he finished speaking, he looked up at Wei Lingnan. The numerical value of this experimental subject is incredibly low. It is the closest to normal human beings among all their experimental subjects. This is not a good sign. In other words, the scatena female that Mr. Wei wanted still failed. Appear. Wei Lingnan said, she is not a test subject. The old man was stunned. At the beginning, Wei Lingnan had personally numbered the test materials and made them into a stock solution before sending them out. That was the last test material they had. She's not. Wei Lingnan's voice was low, with a hint of exhaustion. She is her. Perhaps no one in the world understands what Wei Lingnan means, only the old man understands it. Precisely because she was created using the last experimental material, Mr. Wei could not tolerate failure. That was his last hope. The old man looked at Xia Yingluo in the fluorescent blue translucent liquid and thought, she is not a test subject, so can she be the person he has been waiting for all these years? End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1228. Chapter 1228 Test. How sad. The old man lowered his eyes and stopped talking. Wei Lingnan lit a cigarette. This was his first time smoking in the laboratory. Slowly blowing out a smoke ring, he asked the old man, "Why don't you speak? Do you think I will fail this time?" "Don't dare," the old man said cautiously, "you will definitely succeed. Mr. Wei is a very generous employer who provides good arrangements for the old man's wife and children. In fact, every employee and their family members who work here have a good life, which is far beyond what people outside can compare with. Except when it comes to experimental issues, Mr. Wei is somewhat moody. People who had offended him disappeared silently and were never seen again." Wei Lingnan looked at Xia Yingluo for a long time through the glass cover. "She is dreaming," he said to the old man. The old man was startled. "What did you dream about?" All the experimental subjects rarely dreamed, but even if they did, they never found anything special. He didn't know why Wei Lingnan specifically brought it up. "What did you dream about?" Wei Lingnan shook his head and looked at the girl in the fluorescent blue liquid with a gloomy look. It's always a good thing to dream, although what she dreamed about were insignificant things. Maybe this was the first time she remembered her past life. "What about steps? At least the dream channel has been opened, and even the avatar star is not completely unaffected." The old man looked at him, lowered his eyes, and sighed secretly in his heart. Xia Yingluo didn't know how long she had been asleep. When she woke up, she found that the surroundings were silent. She was wrapped in a gentle fluorescent blue liquid, and the water waves gently swayed, making her feel a little dazed. Where is this? What's up with her? She swam in the fluorescent blue liquid and reached the edge of the huge glass ball. Only then did she gradually see the scene outside, an empty laboratory filled with equipment she couldn't understand. A man stood quietly in the glass ball. Next to him, he was staring at her through the fluorescent blue liquid. Wei Lingnan. Her eyes met his, and she suddenly became angry. It must be him, it must be him. He was the one who caught him here, and he used some dirty tricks to make her look like this. What on earth was he going to do? Xia Yingluo stretched out her hand and slapped the transparent wall of the glass ball hard. She opened her mouth to ask him to let her out, but no sound came out. The man outside the huge glass ball looked at her like this. She was tired of patting and shouting, so she could only stare at him angrily. Wei Lingnan was smoking outside, one after another. After a long time, he walked to the edge of the glass ball. His slender fingers seemed to wave randomly in the void. The fluorescent blue liquid in the glass ball gradually sank, and finally disappeared completely. Then, the glass ball disappeared, leaving her no longer in sight. Standing in front of him obstructively. Her clothes were disheveled, and her body and hair were dripping wet. Only her eyes were bright and burning with fire, and she wanted to eat him alive. "What on earth are you going to do?" she asked him. "Where is this place? Let me go." Wei Lingnan was not angry at her attitude. This is Wei's biopharmaceutical base. "What did you bring me here for? Could it be that you wanted to cut it into pieces and make medicine?" In the empty room, Wei Lingnan smiled, a little indifferently. "I want you." She didn't understand what he meant. He had already stepped forward, stretched out his strong arms and easily pulled her into his arms. He lowered his head and kissed her predatorily again. She was breathless from his kiss. She instinctively tried to push him away, but she couldn't. She felt his heavy body pressing down on her, pushing her down onto the iron bed in the center of the laboratory. Her ragged clothes were completely torn off, and then, there was a wanton violation. Her eyes widened and she couldn't believe it. Is this person a beast? What, that happened to her just before she fell into coma, and she had to encounter it again immediately after she woke up? She struggled desperately and tried her best to resist him, kicking and biting him, but to no avail. Xia Yingluo was horrified to discover that there was someone in the world who could suppress her so completely. With her skills, even the world's top special forces and killers would have to spend a lot of effort to subdue her, but what about the man in front of her? It's an overwhelming advantage. She was confused and frightened, feeling that his shoulder was torn open by her, blood flowed out, and then healed at an incredible speed. It is more like a war than an entanglement. The two of them didn't let anyone go, they were so desperate and tried their best. When the invasion was over, Wei Lingnan let go of her. Her body was curled up together, covered with spots and marks. Before she could take a breath, she saw Wei Lingnan retreating a few steps away, waving his hands casually in the air again, and the glass cover came down again. Xia Yingluo was shocked and struggled to stand up. However, as soon as her bare feet touched the ground, she felt the fluorescent blue liquid rising up, and soon, it flooded her whole body. She floated feebly in the liquid, glaring weakly at Wei Lingnan through the swaying light and shadow of the water waves. Wei Lingnan didn't even look at her. A screen made of light appeared in the void, displaying all the strange data. His expression gradually turned from concentration to disappointment. The old man was right, Xia Yingluo's data were much lower than any previous test subject, almost close to a normal human being, even after he had undergone so many experiments. After the first energy exchange, there was almost no growth, far behind those previous experimental subjects that had not undergone energy exchange. No, he won't give up. She was made from the last experimental material, and he couldn't imagine what he would do if he lost her. He imprisoned her in the glass cover, turned around and left. Xia Yingluo looked at his back, and the anger in her heart was about to explode. Why did this man do whatever he wanted to her? She had never thought of killing anyone in her life, but now, she wanted to kill him. The fluorescent blue liquid has disappeared, and the glass cover is very clean. She was not wearing any silk threads, and the original dress had long been torn into pieces that were worse than rags, making her completely unwearable. She just curled up on the iron bed inside the glass cover, hugged herself tightly, and told herself, Yingluo, don't worry, there will definitely be a way. You must find a way to get out of here, and then, make him pay for what he did today. She was imprisoned by him like this. He brought her meals every day and took good care of her 3 meals a day, but he would eat her thoroughly every day regardless of her resistance, and remained unmoved by her hateful curses. Fluorescent blue liquid, glass cover, mysterious light screen and others. Constitutes everything about her every night. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1229. Chapter 1229. I know who you are. She refused to talk to Wei Lingnan anymore. All conversation was non-existent. No matter what he said to her or how he forced her to speak, she would just sneer and say nothing. What else could they say? Anyway, he would not let her go no matter what, and he would not even give her even a night of mercy. Every time he came, he only did 2 things, completely suppressing and violating her, and reading the strange data in the virtual light screen. Even the questioning about her dreams stopped, since she didn't answer, he stopped wasting time. Xia Yingluo was thinking about how to escape. She has been imprisoned here for about 10 days. This is a conclusion based on the frequency of his daily delivery of meals. The training camp should have discovered her disappearance a long time ago and will probably send people to look for her. Jin Linger must have gone crazy. Normally, they would contact her family. But the family members on her admission information were just a false cover. If the training camp really followed the address she filled in, who knows what they would find? Is there really a poor couple called her parents in that remote poor ravine? Or is it nothing? She doesn't know. Even if her parents really exist, are they Aboriginal people who know nothing about everything, or are they actors sent by the Li family? What is the chance that her disappearance will be reported to her father Li Lei and mother Xiaoling? When she first met Wei Lingnan in the casino, she opened a room with him on her own initiative. If she had known what happened later, she would rather reveal her identity at that time. Even if she failed in the experience, it would be better than being trapped. Here, you may risk your own life. Who knows what that lunatic Wei Lingnan wants to do? The pain occurred several more times, each time more severe than the last, making her worse than death. Wei Lingnan gave her medicine more frequently, but it was only a drop in the bucket. Once again, when he broke into the glass enclosure that imprisoned her and brutally violated her, she curled up on the bed in pain, sweating profusely, and couldn't help but speak to him, Wei Lingnan. Wei Lingnan paused while getting up and dressing. He turned back and looked at her condescendingly. I thought you would never speak to me. She ignored the subtle sarcasm in his tone and told him weakly, I am not an ordinary trainee from a poor mountainous area, I am from the Li family. My father's name is Li Lei. Oh, Li Lei. Wei Lingnan remained calm. Xia Yingluo raised her eyes to look at him with difficulty, cold sweat falling along her eyelashes into her eyes. She took a few breaths before she regained the strength to speak. Don't you know Li Lei? You can check it out, then. That's not you can afford to offend me. Let me go, and I can let go of everything. If you do this again, wait until my father comes to find you. Why, kill me and destroy my base. Wei Lingnan's smile became more sarcastic. Aluo, I didn't expect you to threaten me with thunder. Your IQ is now as low as that of a stupid human being. Or are you underestimating me? Why don't you just tell me that your mother is Xiaoling, from the hidden family Xia family, because your uncle named Xia Moyan is much more threatening to me. Xia Yingluo's eyes widened in fear. It turns out, he knew who she belonged to from the beginning to the end. He didn't think she was an ordinary person before he committed sexual harassment wantonly, but he did so unscrupulously after knowing her noble status. Judging from the meaning of his words, she didn't take her father seriously at all, and even her uncle might not pose much of a threat to him. Who is he? Don't be afraid. Seeing her fear, Wei Lingnan smiled, your man is the strongest, and no one in this world can take you away from me. Not even your father, brother, and uncle. No. Impossible. Xia Yingluo was shocked and excited, coughing weakly. There is no one in this world who is more powerful than my uncle. I think I should correct you, Aluo. Wei Lingnan smiled again. It should be that there is no one on this earth who is more powerful than your uncle. But unfortunately, I am not from Earth. I have told you this a long time ago. I'm from the Skatana tribe. Why don't you always believe me? Xia Yingluo was silent. The Skatana tribe? She always thought it was just his sleep talk. Are there really any aliens in this world? But, why have I never heard my uncle mention it? But if Wei Lingnan is not an alien, how can we explain all this? No matter how crazy a person is, it is impossible for him to have contempt for the authority of the Xia family. If he knows the existence of the Xia family and still dares to offend, that is, seeking death. The planet guardian is very strong, Wei Lingnan said lightly. I am stronger. Xia Yingluo winced slightly and found that her situation was far more difficult than she imagined. Originally, in her plan, as long as she told him her true identity, he would definitely be wary, and even if he didn't let her go immediately, he would be a little restrained. but his reaction was far beyond her expectation. If he didn't even fear the Xia family, then what else in this world could scare him? How should she escape? What do you want? She asked Wei Lingnan tiredly. Even if you are really an alien, what does it have to do with me? Do you want to hold me hostage and threaten my uncle and they will find a spaceship for you? Are you a spaceship? Did you crash here? Or do you want to rule the earth? Even if you want to find that little girl, she is not me at all. The first time you met me was in the casino, and you know it very well. Unexpectedly, Wei Lingnan said, no, that is not an accident. She raised her eyes to look at him in confusion. Wei Lingnan's figure was stretched a bit under the pale light of the laboratory, slightly twisted, as if he was about to dissolve in the air. That strange light and shadow reminded her of that night in the casino, when he was sitting under a dim light, like some mysterious beast dormant in the middle of the night. I have been waiting for you for a long time, Aluo. I have been waiting for you since you were born, Wei Lingnan said. I know you are my Aluo, but although I am not afraid of your father, brother, and uncle, after all, I am not afraid of you. Entanglement is a very troublesome thing, and you are still too young, so I haven't looked for you until you left home. I have been watching you since the first day you left home. Xia Yingluo shivered unconsciously, and a chill ran up her back. Wei Lingnan continued, I watched you meet Zhao Yuxuan, and I looked forward to being with him happily, so he used a little trick to make something happen between that selfish man and Pei Yan. Then there was no need. If he takes action himself, Aluo will naturally be abandoned and see the true face of that man. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1230. Chapter 1230, Walking out of the laboratory. That day, he made a special trip to the casino to find her. Originally, he was just worried that something would happen to her. However, when he saw her heartbroken for another man, he couldn't help but want to possess her and tell her who was the one who really deserved her. She is only 16 years old and is still very weak. It would be dangerous to have with someone with alien blood like him, but Wei Lingnan can't wait that long anymore. He doesn't want to wait until a few years to have her again, missing and jealous. It will drive him crazy. He loves her. There is no doubt about it. Xia Yingluo only felt terrified. What was more terrifying than being accidentally targeted by a madman was being deliberately targeted by a madman. She didn't want to be with him, not even for a second, and his touch would only make her feel humiliated. Forced to calm down, her brain was spinning rapidly, and she negotiated terms with him. Wei Lingnan, if you really love me, don't do this to me. You don't want me to hate you more and more, do you? How about we make a deal? You don't always force me to do things like that in bed. How about I tell you what I dream about? Don't you always want to know what I dream about? Wei Lingnan's pair of smooth, mirror-like eyes remained unchanged, but the air seemed to freeze. After a moment, he spoke softly, are you really dreaming? Yes, she summoned her courage and said, it's not the Avatar planet, but the Scatena planet. If you want to know the details, don't do anything excessive to me, I will tell you. Wei Lingnan looked down at her, Aluo, you are wrong. What I want from beginning to end is not your dream, but you, the dream is just incidental. Don't put the cart before the horse. She was choked by him, feeling a slight suffocation in her chest. Suddenly, Wei Lingnan smiled again, but it doesn't hurt to listen. How about a dream in exchange for a night's rest? 2 nights. 2 days and 3 nights. If you agree, then agree. If not, I don't care, Wei Lingnan said. Xia Yingluo gritted her teeth and said, deal. She knew that she was trapped here and was not qualified to negotiate terms with him. Being able to win 2 days and 3 nights might be the best result. Wei Lingnan smiled again, that's good. Then, come and tell me what you dreamed about. The first time, It was a mysterious purple planet and a cracked Earth. Xia Yingluo collected her thoughts and said, "It was in Shanglin Nanyuan that I dreamed about it after drinking the cocktail you made. I guess it was influenced by your story? Is there nothing else in the dream? There are little white flowers and monsters, the things you mentioned before." Wei Lingnan was a little disappointed. He was not sure whether she really recalled something when she dreamed about these things, or whether she was bewitched by the story. Calmly, he asked her, "Have you ever had any other dreams?" "In the grove of the training camp, when I passed out, I dreamed that there were two monsters in the thick fog, or the Scatana tribe, and they were fighting." She didn't want to tell him that the two monsters might be mating. She wasn't sure. His eyes lit up slightly. "Did you dream that they were fighting?" Neither his stories nor the murals in Shanglin Nanyuan Villa mentioned that the Scatana people would fight and kill each other. If she dreamed about it, would it mean that her memory was changing step by step? Recover. Unfortunately, the next few dreams disappointed him. They were nothing more than fog, purple cracks, and the like, nothing special. Xia Yingluo's mouth went dry as she spoke. He kept asking, "Have you had any other dreams?" She said, "There is another one. I dreamed that I was trying to go down into the deep purple crack." Wei Lingnan's expression tightened. "What's inside?" Xia Yingluo thought for a while. "Nothing special, there is a kind of small red flower." Wei Lingnan's tense expression slowly dissipated, replaced by narrowed eyes and a slightly threatening voice. "Aluo, I allow you to exchange dreams for night, but if you lie to me, you will be punished." Punishing? Then she was surprised. "How do you know I lied to you?" She made up the little red flowers. She just wanted to make up more stories and win more peaceful nights for herself. "That kind of flower doesn't exist on Scatana," Wei Lingnan said briefly. So, he used whether there is such a thing on Scatana as the criterion? Xia Yingluo felt ridiculous and terrifying in her heart. Could that planet really exist? What aliens? She gradually began to believe it. Looking at him with a hint of disbelief, the man in front of him obviously looks no different from an Earthling, right? What kind of delusion is it, or brainwave control method? Xia Yingluo was confused. As if seeing her confusion, Wei Lingnan said, "It doesn't matter if you don't believe it, I will make you believe it. Aluo, do you want to see the star Scatana? I recreated its appearance. As long as she is not pushed down on the bed by him, she can do anything." So she said, "Okay." Following him obediently, he walked out of the laboratory. This was the first time she walked out of the laboratory in many days. When she saw the boundless darkness outside, she was so shocked that she could not speak. This laboratory is like a lonely star hanging in the universe, dark purple, shining softly, and above and below it, front, back, left and right, there is nothingness. "Are you scared?" he asked her, standing on the platform outside the laboratory. She came to her senses and shook her head. No, she wasn't scared, she was just shocked, so majestic and beautiful. Wei Lingnan said, "This is my Aluo. The Scatana people are never afraid of darkness." Xia Yingluo turned to look at him, almost biting off her tongue with regret. If she had known that Aluo of his was not afraid of the dark, she should have cried and told him that he was afraid. In that case, maybe he could lose interest in her sooner and let her go. But now, it's too late to say anything. Wei Lingnan was standing on the edge of the volley corridor wearing a white shirt. Black mist filled his clothes, making him look mysterious and unpredictable. He raised his hand and didn't know what mechanism he had touched. There was a touch of metallic color coming from the distant darkness. When he got closer, Xia Yingluo discovered that it was a kind of metal conveyor belt. She didn't know what principle it operated on. It was slender and thin. It winds out for several hundred meters without any leverage. The metal conveyor belt stopped at their feet. Wei Lingnan stepped forward first and stretched out his hand to help her. "Come up." She was a little scared. Such a slender conveyor belt looked like it would break if she stepped on it, but she didn't want to be underestimated by him, so she mustered up the courage to step on the conveyor belt without letting him support her. Wei Lingnan took back his hand and gave her a meaningful look. His Aluo is also so independent and strong. End of this chapter.